Welcome in, everybody. Yelling from the couch. I'm Brent Humphreys, joined by my co-host Gage Berdovich. The NFL Week 15 Pick'em. Just the Sunday and Monday games because we're recording this on Saturday. Gage, how you doing?
Doing good, Brent. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. We got football on right now. We've had football on all day. Had a great Thursday night game actually, and looking forward to this weekend's games.
Dude, that Thursday night game, 42-0 at halftime. Richard Sherman said it during the halftime show. Brandon Staley should have been fired before coming back out for the second half. Like that was just awful.
Yeah, and for a Raiders team who scored 0 the week before to explode for 63, that shows what kind of a defense you had. And Brandon Staley's supposed to be a defensive guy.
It's kind of crazy. Like, beginning of the season, we had a certain team get blown out 70-20, and then they turned it
Mhm.
around and went on like a 5 or 6 game winning streak. Are they going to go on a little run here at the end? I highly doubt it with Easton Stick, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I thought the Broncos were dead in the water too after that. But like you said, right now they're not looking so great tonight as of right now. But overall, they've played pretty good since getting blown out. The Chargers, I don't know. They fired Staley the next day and the GM, so we'll see how that goes. But I
Yeah,
was kind of pulling for Vegas to get 10 more points there, and that way they broke that record and be like, well, who holds the record for most points in a game? Oh, a crappy 7-10 Vegas Raiders team? Cool.
I was kind of hoping for that too because I'm like, okay, you scored 42 on that, or 42 in the first half. You're on pace to score 84 by the end of the game. Let's do it. Make it happen.
Let's do it. Let's score all the points here. And and the Chargers waited till the fourth quarter. I mean, really, because it was they had 7 points at the end of the third, and they ended up getting 21. Scoring 14 in the fourth. Easton Stick got his 3 touchdowns in the game, but just a horrible performance from the Chargers overall to let Vegas score that many. And if anybody took the under, like everybody was saying, like their lock of the day is the under at 36.5. Well, that got covered at halftime by one team.
uh, you're just talking about like the poor performance by the Chargers. They had, what was it, like fumble, interception,
Yeah.
fumble was like their first 4 drives or something ridiculous like that. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and just a bad performance on Thursday night from a bad team losing to another team that's not very good either.
But
And then today, earlier, yeah, go ahead.
if you're going against a fantasy team right now in the first week of playoffs that has any, or basically any Raiders players, good luck.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, like you said, any Raiders player. I mean, they got some points this week in fantasy for sure. It was a fantasy owner's dream to have a Raiders player this week. Anybody had Trey Tucker starting, I don't know who would in the playoffs, but
Oh, I don't
did
know
pretty well.
who would have him during the regular season, let alone playoffs.
That's true, very true. And then today, a couple of games today, the Minnesota Vikings fall to my Cincinnati Bengals, 27-24 in overtime. A game that kind of started out a little, but picked up and was a really good second half of a game in overtime. Bengals scored 21 points on Minnesota in the fourth quarter to tie the game with them and then head into overtime. And McPherson kicks a field goal to beat the Vikings. What do you think about that game, Gage?
That was incredible to see. It was 7-3 at one point, and for it to turn out the way that it did. Cincinnati wasn't able to score touchdowns until the last quarter. And it was like the Vikings defense had them locked up, had them locked up. Jamar wasn't doing anything. The run game wasn't doing anything. And then something happened. I don't know what it was, but something happened to let Jake Browning and the Bengals team just come back and send it to overtime for the win.
The and that was without, you're without Joe Burrow, of course. DJ Reader goes down early in the game, which hurts the run defense there because he's a big stopper up the middle there. And it seemed like Ty Chandler would get chunk plays every time right up the middle, right where DJ Reader would have been. That hurt him. And then DJ Ivy, he's a backup safety. He got hurt. And then Jamar Chase gets hurt in the fourth quarter, shoulder injury. And for all that to happen and for the Bengals to come back still and win that game, T. Higgins had an incredible catch and touchdown on that last play where he caught the ball and he turned around with his hand and just got right over the pylon right at the end to tie the game, to send it to overtime. Incredible by them. Good game by the Bengals to come back and win that game. They're still alive. They've got holding a playoff spot right now, and we'll see how that goes in the coming weeks.
And like you said, that last touchdown catch, I don't know how. I believe it was Higgins, how he was able to contort his body the way that he did to reach it over, but it was incredible to see.
Yeah, they kept looking at it on replay, and it's like every time you're like, I don't know how he done it, but he did it. I mean, both feet are there, and the ball's over the pylon there. That's a touchdown, and just great awareness by him to just think about doing that. Not even going to try to run another play here. We're going to go ahead and get in right now.
You have that, and then you have the back-to-back failed tush pushes for the Vikings on 3rd and 4th down. When you place basically your smallest guy on the roster behind Nick Mullins to push him, what are you doing? You have a fullback, hand it off to him or let him push Mullins.
I thought there's no way they're going back-to-back tush pushes and they don't get it on the second one. I was wrong. I was glad I was wrong. They were short. They were short. They even lost a little bit on the second tush push, and they still measured. And I'm like, if they're short on that, if they're short on the first one, they're going to be short on the second one because they lost a little bit of yards. But just great stop by the defense.
It amazes me that Ty Chandler can be doing as good as he does, and you don't hand it to him on either one of those plays.
I'm totally in agreement. I'm glad that they didn't for my sake. But if I was the coach, I would have been like, 3rd down, Chandler's getting it. If he doesn't get it, guess what? Chandler's getting it again because he's proven this game that they cannot. I mean, that he can run right up the middle with them without them stopping him. But they thought the tush push was the best thing for him, and it didn't work out for the Vikings at least.
Let me ask you this question: how does it feel to have a team that has a backup quarterback that can actually win?
It feels pretty good. Jake Browning is 3-1 now as a starter. Since taking over for Joe Burrow, he's only lost Pittsburgh. Speaking of Pittsburgh and backup quarterbacks, Gage, the second game of the day, the Indianapolis Colts defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-13. Gage, what did you think about this game? Pittsburgh got off to a pretty good start, being up 13-0, and that was it. 30 unanswered from the Colts.
We could even go back to the last game that they had because we haven't talked since then against the Patriots. Trubisky is awful. He is. He's not a quarterback. Well, technically he is, but physically, is he really? No. He's not accurate at all. There was one play during the game today against the Colts where 3rd and 3 maybe, and he had Pat Fryermuth on a curl route for the 1st down, and Trubisky throws it behind him. And you see Fryermuth dives for the football and doesn't get it. I don't know if it's the play calling. I don't know if it's Trubisky. I'm sure a lot of it is. But I think the main source, and I've never wanted to say this, but the main source of the failure is Mike Tomlin. If this guy, winning record or not, by the end of the season, if he's not gone in the offseason, whether it be released or traded, there's a problem within the Steeler organization, and they need to get a new head coach.
Man, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot, he seems like he wins with less sometimes, but this year Pittsburgh's got some players. I mean, besides their quarterback situation right now, but George Pickens could be a top receiver, for any team. Deontay Johnson, he's a good receiver.
It's
Najee Harris. I mean, what is going on with Najee Harris? I mean, he fumbled the ball today, and it just doesn't seem like he wants to be there anymore.
Ever since Trubisky came in the second half of one of the games a couple weeks ago after Kenny got hurt, the run game has gone straight downhill. Yeah, I don't know if it's the defenses know that, oh, Trubisky likely isn't going to make a play, so let's hone in on Najee and Jalen, or what's going on. But they need to get back to what they were doing here uh, during their like 3 or 4 game winning stint when Kenny was at quarterback running the football. It's so sad to think about. And then you talked about Pickens. Some of the things and ways that he has acted during games and like during interviews and stuff past couple weeks, he's already reminded me of Antonio Brown with his antics and with his drama. And it's something that if he had, say, a big Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback, I don't think we'd be dealing with that.
Yeah, and he's reminding you of Antonio Brown without the production so far
Yeah.
out of him. He's got the potential, but the production is not there yet. And you're talking about the running game. Jalen Warren a few weeks ago was really starting to come on when Pickett was in there, and I was like, man, he's going to take over running back too. And he hasn't really been able to get it going either. Uh, I think they ran for like 75 yards today in the game, and
It,
just not.
yeah, something like that. I don't know. I will
And
say
that's not Pittsburgh football.
the one thing I was surprised about. Now I turned the game off before it was over, so it might have changed. But there was no jet sweeps and no end arounds, which I mean I know we had the stat for consecutive games without 400 total yards. I want to know the stat that was consecutive games without a jet sweep or an end around.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it just reminded me of the Bengals Vikings game. Going back to that real quick, this drives me crazy. Bengals have done this several times since Burrow's been out. They are 3rd and 1. They have Tanner Hudson come in on an end around. They hand the ball back to him. He goes out for a pass and throws an incompletion, and that's pretty much the drive killer. They got to kick a field goal. Why are they doing that? Vikings later on in the game, they do the same kind of thing with Justin Jefferson,
Mm-hmm.
and he one hops it to his receiver, and it's like, okay, trick plays are cool when they work, but for the most part, if your quarterback's playing good, why are we getting him out of rhythm and trying to fool the defense on this? Especially on short yardage situations like that.
Or even
Why
or
are we trying
even
to be smart?
just on third down situations, it's like if it doesn't work out, that's a momentum killer, and you have to punt or kick a field goal, but most likely have to punt. It's like why break it out then? If you're gonna do it on like first or second down. So this way,
Exactly.
if the pass falls incomplete, or if the person throwing the ball just gets sacked, the person running the ball takes a loss. At least you're not completely over for the drive.
Yeah, and that was 3rd and 1. Like, get the first down, then you could try your little stuff on first down. But I was like, it kills me because if they were on their own 25-yard line and it was 3rd and 1, sometimes they like to call a 40-yard bomb, which also is ridiculous. It's like, let's just get the yard and then we could do whatever on first or second down. Let's not get too cute and try these trick plays and these long bombs when we just need a yard. And it's early in the first quarter. I mean, come on.
When I laugh every time, like I saw the Bengals do it a couple times today. I know the Steelers have done it a lot this year. You motion your running back out across, not into like a wide receiver position, but you just motion them like parallel with you. And to not see any of the defense go with that running back, because 9 times out of 10 that's going to be a screen pass to that running back. It, you don't see any defensive players within 5 or 10 yards of him when he makes the
Yep.
catch. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. You think that they'd be able to see that stuff, but obviously they don't, and they're still getting paid the big bucks. Oh, the game going on right now. The Detroit Lions 14, Denver Broncos 0. Just a minute and something left before the halftime, and Detroit's about to score again. What do you think about that game right now, Gage?
It's interesting. I mean, if we would have done, like, say we recorded when we normally did, I would have picked the Broncos to win it because of their defense. I'm glad we didn't record when we usually do, but this is surprising me to see 14 given up to Detroit and zero offensive wise for the Broncos, who, let's face it, the Detroit Lions, they don't have that great of a defense. So for Russell Wilson and company to not be able to take advantage of that surprises me a lot.
Yeah, and I thought that Denver would give them a lot better of a game too, but so far it's been all lines in this one. And Russell Wilson fumbled the ball earlier in the game, and we had a fat guy run for a little bit. I was hoping he would go on into the end zone there, but he made it about the 30, Bill. But nice little run back for the big guy there
Uh,
for
I was
Detroit.
I was hoping for that too. That's Isaiah Buggs. He is a former Steeler, and if he would have scored, I think I would have went crazy for him.
Oh yeah, it's always good to see the big guys get the chance to show their athleticism by running down the field. Oh man, so that's all that's happened so far. We will get into this week's matchups coming up, and we will start off with the 5-8 New York Jets traveling to Miami to face the Miami Dolphins. Miami's an 8.5 point favorite. Not sure if Tyreek Hill's playing or not yet. Gage, what do you think about this matchup?
I wish we knew if Tyreek was playing or not, because that would make this a lot easier. Zach Wilson went out last week. He had himself a great game. And, when he was asked, like, oh, why do you think the change? And he said, I'm playing because I have nothing to lose. This 8.5 is a lot for a team in Miami that doesn't or isn't likely to have Tyreek. And for a Jets team that Zach Wilson came out and did pretty decent last week. I'm gonna go with Miami on this one just because of all the weapons they have. Raheem Mostert, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. But with that being said, I'm not gonna take the points. So give me Miami, but go against the spread.
Now, last week you mentioned the Jets. They had a pretty good game last week with a big win over the Texans. C.J. Stroud did go out in that game with a concussion. And Zach Wilson, like you said, back against the corner, coming out, playing good, playing well. Miami, on the other hand, as soon as Tyreek Hill went down, Miami lost like 3 or 4 players in that first quarter. And I was like, man, they're going to lose everybody by the end of the game. They're going to have enough players to play. Turns out some of the players come back, but Tyreek Hill was the big key. He came back into the game, but you could tell he was not the same player that he was. Had a great drive where he had like 48 yards on the drive. Did not get a target the rest of the game. He was in the game. He wasn't the same. Miami is not the same without Tyreek. That being said, I'm going to go with the Dolphins too in this one because of the rest of their weapons. They'll have a week to prepare without Tyreek. The Jets still got a pretty decent defense, I believe, but the Dolphins just got too much weapons at home. Give me the Dolphins. I don't think that they'll cover either because I don't think they're the same team without him, but there's still all that speed on the field in other places.
Mm-hmm.
The next matchup, the Houston Texans will travel to Tennessee to face the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's a 3 point favorite. These two teams right here are the opponents of the last two teams we talked about from last week. Gage, what do you think about this matchup?
So, if, if you hear it right off the bat that, oh, Titans are 3-point favorites, you might be thinking, well, why is that? The Texans are so much better than it. But then earlier today and throughout the week, actually, it was reported, C.J. Stroud, unlikely to play, unlikely to play. The team announced today that Davis Mills will be starting, the guy with the longest neck in the NFL ever. Um, I, I mean, he's about on the same level as Mitch Trubisky is. He's just awful. He was awful last year. He's gonna be awful tomorrow. So give me the Titans in this one. Give me the points. And also my super bet is Derrick Henry to go for 2 touchdowns on the ground.
The Titans last week were down 13 points, 14 points. They were down 2 touchdowns, 14 points, less than 3 minutes. first team since like 2016. The record was like 700 and whatever. Everybody was up 14 points with less than 3 minutes wins the game. Will Levis said, "Not so fast, my friend." They went down. Hopkins made some catches, and even Henry fumbled the ball at one point in time, and it's like, well, this is definitely over now. Tennessee hung in there and kept going and ended up winning that game, going for two on that first touchdown to make it 27-21. I was like, what? What are they doing? It's like, you miss it, you're down 8. You make it, you're down 6. You got, I guess I see that, but you're taking a risk. Paid off, and then they come down, they score, and then all they had to do was kick an extra point, and they win the game, and that's what happened. Impressive win for the Titans, even though Miami was without Tyreek and them. Texans, on the other hand, like you said, C.J. Stroud went out. He was out with a concussion. He's not playing this week. Davis Mills steps into that spot, and Davis Mills is, like you said, a Mitchell Trubisky, not very good. Texans are, the underdog on the road for good reason with that guy as the quarterback. Give me the Titans in this one. I think that they cover. And I like the Derrick Henry for 2 touchdowns. I like that pick. The next matchup, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Green Bay to face the Green Bay Packers. Both teams are 6-7. Green Bay right now holding the number 7 spot in the NFC playoffs. Green Bay is a 3.5-point favorite. Gage, you probably already know who I'm picking, but who do you like?
Well, I'm gonna go with you on this one. Jordan Love last week had an off game for him for what he's had the past few weeks. Christian Watson, he's gonna be without him for a bit, but I don't think it's gonna matter. Tampa Bay's awful. Their defense is just straight bad. Baker Mayfield, we all hate Baker Mayfield. So yeah, give me the Packers on this one. 3.5 is a spread. I'm not gonna take that. So give me the Packers, but go against the spread on that.
I like the Packers in this game as well because I don't like the Buccaneers to win this game because it's the Buccaneers. The Packers last week, a disappointing loss in New York. Randy Bullock, who has played for your team, has played for my team, has played for just about every team in the NFL, comes out, kicks a game winner against the Packers. The Packers just, did not play their best. I think they'll pick it up back up this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, who beat a bad Falcons team last week. That division right there is just trash from top to bottom, the NFC South. But I think that the Packers will get back on track this week, and I think that they'll win by a field goal. So I don't think they'll cover that spread either.
The
Speaking of it,
I was just gonna say the NFC South is just so bad. Like you said, from top to bottom, all 4 teams in it, none of them deserve a playoff spot, and they should just automatically have to forfeit their spot.
yeah, that would be great. Just give it to somebody else.
We'll take
But
it.
yeah, yeah. The next matchup features an NFC South team where the New York Giants, coming off of the big win that was just mentioned, with Fat Randy Bullock kicking the field goal to win the game against the New Orleans Saints, who are a 5.5-point favorite. Gage, do you like New York to come out with Tommy DeVito and win this game?
Uh, I love Tommy DeVito and just the way he carries himself. His agent too. They showed him last week. He looks phenomenal. He's also, I believe, getting inducted into like the Italian Sports Hall of Fame or something like that. Saquon Barkley, they get him going. That's what they need to be able to win. Tommy DeVito has been playing pretty good ever since like his first 2 starts this year. And the Saints, you don't know what's going to happen with them. Is Derek Carr playing? Is Jameis Winston the starter? Do they have all their receivers? Do they have all their players on defense? This team, it just seems like they can never be fully healthy at once. And even if they are, they're probably not going to win. Give me the Giants on this one. Give me the underdogs.
I'm going to roll with you on this one too. I don't trust the Saints at all. Derek Carr seems like every week he's getting some sort of injury. But I think that last week the Giants they finally got back to getting Saquon the ball like they should have been for a while. That's what I've been saying before. Hey, let's get Saquon involved. They're finally getting him involved. Also, the emergence, the guy that Tommy DeVito seems to like pretty well, former Kentucky Wildcat Wandale Robinson,
Hmm.
had a pretty big game for New York last week, and he's finally coming on for him as a wide receiver and maybe becoming his favorite target and maybe that number one receiver for him. Put that along with Saquon Barkley. I like it. Give me the Giants in this one, and I think that they cover because that would be an upset if they win. The next matchup, we stay in this NFC South, and I promise after this one we're getting out because both of these teams are in NFC South. It's the 6-7 Atlanta Falcons traveling to Carolina to face the 1-12 Carolina Panthers. Atlanta is a 3-point favorite. Gage, who do you like in this one?
So this is how bad this game is gonna be. The other day, now I found out they were fake screenshots, but there was a post going around social media that tickets for this game were as low as 45 cents, and that I'm surprised isn't true. But still, the lowest ticket for this game is still like 11 or 12 bucks. This is if this ends up 2-0, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe 1-0 somehow. I don't know. Maybe they're just like, you don't even deserve the full points for the safety. Um, I I guess man, I don't know. The Panthers are just bad. They're looking for another win just for dignity reasons at this point. I guess mathematically, I think they are eliminated. I believe yeah. I think they were one of the
Hmm.
first teams eliminated this week. Falcons still fighting to win the division, maybe claim a wild card spot. So just based on that, I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one, and I will take the points.
This is going to be a horrible game. Last week, Bryce Young was like awful. He's been awful all season long. Uh, they just mustered up 6 points against the Saints. Bryce Young was 13 of 36 for 137 yards. He did not throw a pick in that game. He also did not throw a touchdown. Falcons, on the other hand, they played Tampa Bay pretty close, but once again, it's in the NFC South. Every team in there is trash. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Falcons in this one too because they still have a shot to make the playoffs. Which once they get into the playoffs, if they get there, they're not going far. They are getting a home playoff game. Whoever wins this NFC South, and that is a crime right there. The next matchup, the Chicago Bears travel to Cleveland to face the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is a 3-point favorite. Gage, do you like the Bears to pull an upset here?
So, uh, and I promise this is not biased. This is not my Cleveland hate coming out or anything, but it may be a little bit of Joe Flacco hate coming out. There's no way that this guy at age 39 can come in just towards the end of the season, like 3 quarters of the way done, and do what he has done consistently. And that is almost play mistake free football. He's gotten the Browns. I think he's 1-1 so far in his starts, and it's been incredible to see the stat line he's been putting up. He's one touchdown pass away from tying Kenny Pickett for the season in passing touchdowns. Like, uh, wherever this Joe Flacco came from, why couldn't he do it his last few years in Baltimore and his time with the Jets? Last year, we as Steeler fans needed Joe Flacco to pick up a win against Miami, and he couldn't do anything. And I just, as you can tell, I don't like Joe Flacco. Um, but on the Brown side of things, Justin Fields, I mean, he's been looking pretty good. This team was able to beat the Detroit Lions last week in a surprising upset. Um, uh, we know the Browns have a good defense. I think the Bears also have a sneaky defense. They have their number one corner, Jalen Johnson, who, I mean, I'm going to assume he's going to be matched up with Amari Cooper this week. That should be a fun one to watch. I wouldn't be surprised to see Flacco turn the ball over a few times, maybe 2 interceptions, a fumble. And the Browns defense, we've seen him get shredded by some bad teams this year, one of them being Pittsburgh. So with that all being said, I'm gonna go Chicago on this one. Give me the underdogs for this game.
Nice. Nice. I like it. Uh, Cleveland last week, they had a big lead on Jacksonville, let Jacksonville get back into the game, but held on at the end. Well, not really held on. Jacksonville scored late, but still, the score was closer than what the game actually was. Browns win. The Bears last week, surprisingly, thumping the Lions at home. Uh, Justin Fields looked pretty good for the Bears. I'm hoping this week that they come in again and they look really good against a really good Browns defense. Like you said, hopefully Joe Flacco, he can't continue to play this well all season, can he? The rest of the year? I'd hope not. Hopefully he turns the ball over a couple times tomorrow and Chicago will get the win. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Chicago to get this win because I need him to get this win for the Bengals playoffs right now. If they're only a game behind the Browns, if the Browns lose and then they got the same record and they face each other in week 18,
Ooh.
let's go. Give me the Bears in this one. Let's go.
How insane would it be if the NFL scriptwriters wrote Joe Flacco back into the season and took uh, Cleveland to the Super Bowl and won it? I think that would be all of our nightmares.
Oh man, that would be. I don't know. I would have to like watch some other sport or something. I mean, it's all XFL from here on out. We'll make our XFL picks starting this spring if that happens.
Coming this spring, 2024.
Yeah, it's the XFL Week 2 pick'em. that's what it'll be. Oh man. Oh, I never even thought of that scenario, and I hope that does not happen. Oh,
I hope not, but oh god, that would be awful.
shred up, shred that script right now. Oh, the next game, the slumping Kansas City Chiefs. Tony was offsides. Go against the New England Patriots. Chiefs are an 8-point favorite. Gage, do you think New England will build off of their win last week and take down the mighty Chiefs?
It's funny that you mentioned the whole Tony was offside thing because he totally was. I am not denying that he was, but that touchdown should have counted just for how awesome it was. Like
Yes.
Kelsey threw it where it had to be perfectly, and I,
Yes.
I listening to him talk on the podcast with him and Jason Kelsey, he was like, it was not planned, and I don't know how I threw a perfect spiral like that, but Tony, it was incredible. That'll go down as like one of the best touchdowns that didn't count. Um, and like you said, the Patriots, they're coming off a win last week against a certain team. I wouldn't know who that would be.
Hmm.
But Bailey Zappi actually, put on a clinic. Who would have thought that Hunter Henry would have had 2 touchdowns? Um, does that continue this week? I don't think so. I don't see the Patriots being able to string together a couple wins. Um, I could also see, Bill Belichick. They already said, you're gone after this season unless you do something miraculous. And I think that's just going to continue this narrative. Give me the Chiefs this week. Give me the points.
I'm with you here, and I'm with you on that call. Tony was offsides, but it should have counted for how awesome the play was. But nobody's going to remember that play for it being a touchdown. But everybody's talking about the offsides and then the reaction Patrick Mahomes had on the sidelines, and then Andy Reid's comments about you can't call that there. Why can't you call that there? That's a penalty. You call it if you see it. It's like, well, I stole from my neighbor down here, but I mean, you can't get me for that. No, you committed the crime. You're going to get called for it. I mean, it's the same. But like as you said, it's an awesome play, but it didn't count. It was offsides. I think the Chiefs are going to be mad from losing that game and losing the week before too. Having a 2-game losing streak coming into New England. New England's trying to build off of that win streak, 1 game. Like you said, Belichick's probably gone after this year. Most likely, they won't have a shot of making the playoffs right now. So there's no miracle he can pull off right now. Give me the Chiefs in this one, and I think that they cover. I think that they are going to be mad as can be and ready to prove something. And unfortunately for the Patriots, they're next.
Isn't it crazy that Mahomes and Andy Reid are saying like, "Oh, you can't call it in that situation. You can't call that." Meanwhile, you go back to the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and there was, a particular holding call that got called against Philly to ultimately give Kansas City the win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah,
The next matchup, the San Francisco 49ers travel to Arizona to face the Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco is a 12-point favorite. Gage, do you think Arizona's got anything for San Francisco this week?
I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually a lot better game than what most people think it's gonna be. These two teams played each other earlier in the season when Kyler Murray wasn't at quarterback. And yeah, I mean, the 49ers won. The score wasn't really that close, but Arizona was still able to score. Now, since then, I think the 49ers have gotten a much better defense, but Arizona, like I said, they got Kyler Murray back. Um, I mean, do I think Arizona wins? Absolutely not. But with that being said, I will take the 49ers here. But I'm not going to take the points. I think this game will be a lot closer than what people think it will be.
Arizona is coming off of a bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. It's an interdivision matchup between them and San Francisco. San Francisco could be one of the best teams in the league. I know I say it every week. They got all that talent, everything. They're great. I don't think that Arizona's going to be able to hang with them. Give me the Niners in this one. I think the Niners will win by. They'll cover. I think that they'll cover the spread, the 12-point spread. Give me the Niners in this one. The next matchup, the Washington Commanders at 4-9 travel to LA to face the LA Rams. The Rams are 6.5-point favorites. And the Rams blew that game last week on the
Oh.
return kick by Baltimore, which probably hurt both of us last week. Gage, you think the Rams can bounce back and beat the Commanders?
I hope so. I don't see any reason why the Commanders should be able to beat the Rams. I mean, they really got nothing going for them defensively. They have just about nothing going for them offensively. And you look at the Rams side of things, they have Puka, they got Cooper Kupp, they got Kyron Williams, they got Matthew Stafford throwing the rock. And defensive wise, I mean, they got some very good people besides Aaron Donald, who's very elite in that backfield. Killer Witherspoon, just to name one, probably their top corner on the team, who he'll likely be matched up with Terry McLaurin. And like one of the earlier games, I could see that one-on-one matchup being something to watch for this week. I think it's going to be a great battle. But ultimately, I think the Rams are going to come out on top. And I think it'll probably be, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a two-touchdown 17-point game maybe. So give me the Rams on this one and give me the points.
The Rams last week put up 31 points against the Ravens. Like I said, they should have won that game, in overtime. I think the Rams are going to put up some more points again this week against the Commanders. I just don't think the Commanders are very good at all. Although the Commanders are coming off of a bye week, and well, the week before the bye, the Dolphins killed them. I think that the Rams will win. I'm with you here. I think they'll win by about 10 is what I would say. Give me the Rams in this one. Give me the Rams to cover. And I believe so far, man, we have been in agreement on every pick so far. So we're going to either look really good or really bad
Yeah, this is either,
together.
yeah, like you said, either really good or really bad. But these last three games, I could see us having a difference of opinions.
Oh, yeah. And I was about to say, we're about to get into what the NFL's given us for the last three games of this week. Look like on paper could be really good matchups. We'll start with the 425 game. The Dallas Cowboys travel to Buffalo in Orchard Park to face the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is a 2-point favorite after their win over the Chiefs last week. Gage, do you like Buffalo to win this game?
'Wow, 2-point favorite really surprises me. The Bills this year, they have not been the Buffalo Bills that they were the past 2, 3 years. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. I don't know how many yards off the top of my head Diggs is up to, but I don't think it's going to end like he did the past few years and even some time in Minnesota. Defensive wise, they took a lot of hits in the offseason. They've taken a lot of injury hits during the season. And for the Cowboys, they got everything going for them right now. CeeDee Lamb has been unstoppable. Dak Prescott is in the running for Offensive Player and MVP. They got that Deron Bland, who's I think third or fourth right now, and favorites for Defensive Player of the Year. Uh, this game, I could see it being close, but I'm gonna go against the favorite. Give me the Cowboys in this one, and what is a surprising underdog win.
Cowboys last week beat an Eagles team by 20, an Eagles team who, since the loss to the Jets, have ran the gauntlet on this schedule. They faced the Dolphins. They faced the Commanders, but the Commanders are a bad matchup for the Eagles. I think they match up really well with the Eagles. Nobody else but the Eagles. Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys again. So the Eagles were bound to have a bad game and drop it, and it happened to be against Dallas in a very important game for the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Bills last week had a big win over the Chiefs. They're trying to get things going again. This game's in Buffalo. It's going to be cold. I like Buffalo to win this game and to cover the spread. I think they'll win by 3. I think it's going to be a little bit of a letdown game for the Dallas Cowboys. If it goes the other way, it could be a letdown game for the Bills, but I'm going to choose to go the other way, and I'm going to take Buffalo in this one.
And
And
there
there
we
we are.
go.
Now we head to Sunday night. It's the Baltimore Ravens at 10-3 facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo. Baltimore is a 3.5-point favorite, and there's questions about Lawrence playing this week. Gage, what do you think about this matchup?
Uh, we said it last week that, Jacksonville would be crazy to play Trevor Lawrence this week. They would be crazy to do that. And then they went out
Yeah.
and played Trevor Lawrence. Him being questionable this week could be a result from that. I don't know for sure, but it could very well be a result from that. Um, I wouldn't be surprised to see CJ Beathard either start or come in because Trevor Lawrence got injured during the game. We know how hard hitting that Ravens defense is, so that could be something to look out for. And offensive wise, the Jaguars have just struggled a lot this year. They might have had like 2 good offensive games, while the rest of them have been just struggle boats. So, and with the way Lamar runs, and Odell Beckham Jr. even having what could be a career year, so far he has a career high in yards per catch. I think he's at like 15.6 or whatever. That whole tandem just coming together. Isaiah Likely filling in for Mark Andrews, doing well like I thought he would. I'm gonna go with the Ravens on this one, and I'm definitely gonna take the spread. Give me the Ravens. Give me the points.
As you said, Isaiah likely to fill in for Mark Andrews at tight end. Baltimore last week had the win in overtime, on the kick return. And, as a Ravens hater, I did not like to see that.
No.
Baltimore's been rolling pretty good. Jacksonville, Lawrence probably will start. Like we said last week, he'd been crazy to start. And like you said, it might be a result of that last week. And I think that Jacksonville doesn't have enough power for Baltimore. I think Baltimore's going to look pretty good in this game. I think that they'll win. Give me Baltimore and give me Baltimore to cover. And I think that they'll win by at least 10 in this game, even though it's in Jacksonville. Yeah, I hate to say that too, man.
Yeah, that just hurts to say.
And the Ravens right now are the number 1 seed in the AFC, so I mean they're going to have home field throughout the whole playoffs. But if we know anything about Lamar, he does like to choke. So we'll see. We go to Monday night, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles flying up northwest to face the Seattle Seahawks. Philly coming off of that beatdown to Dallas. This is actually Dallas's last two wins, these two teams right here. Philly's a 3-point favorite. Gage, do you like Philly to bounce back in this one?
And not only is Philly coming off that beatdown against Dallas, but they're actually coming off that 2 game losing streak right now, with the previous week taking a huge loss to the 49ers. Maybe, 49ers and Dallas, two of the better teams in the league, but that ultimately dropped Philly, I believe, into the fifth or sixth spot in the wild card. And it's crazy what that can do with, the Eagles. Oh, they only got one loss. They're the best team in the league. To, oh, well, they take 2 losses in a row. Like, what's going on here? Um, yeah, this it seems like it should be an easy pick, and just say, oh, Philly's gonna get back on track, and they're gonna come out and just absolutely wallop the Seahawks. I think it's gonna be a lot better of a game than what people are thinking. Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, they really haven't done much recently. AJ Brown went 9 for 94 last week, but it was all scoreless yards, and it was all basically like on 10-yard slants and out routes. Devontae Smith, he's had a little bit more of a success with Jalen Hurts in the past couple weeks. On the Seahawks side of the ball, they could not get the running game going last week. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet just weren't able to do anything. And through the air, Geno to DK, Geno to Lockett, it was it looked okay, but it was nothing to run home about. So with that being said, with the Eagles defense that they have, I'm gonna go with Philly on this one. Do I think they run away with it? No, but I will take the spread. So give me Philly, give me the points.
If anybody could use a second bye during the NFL season, it would be Philly right about this time.
Hmm.
Like you said, back-to-back beatdowns to the top two teams in the NFC right now. Philly's limping coming into to Seattle. Seattle, had a loss last week to 49ers, which they played pretty close for most of the game, but obviously I think San Francisco is probably the best team in the NFL right now. And Seattle played them close. They played the Cowboys close. I think that they'll play Philly close too, but ultimately I think Philly will get back on track this week and get the win against the Seahawks and beat them up there in Seattle. I think it'll be close. I think that Philly will probably push in this game. 3-point favorite. I think it'll be a push. Give me the Eagles to win this game, though. And that is our week 15 picks.
Yeah, we went the same route on a lot of these games, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, usually we have about 4 or 5 where we differ, but we're, I don't know, 15 weeks later, and we're in agreement on a lot of these.
we're finally becoming, get on the same wavelength.
And next Saturday, I mean, a big game coming up. It'll be, a pretty big game on NBC next Saturday at 4:30. We may agree, we may not agree on that one. I don't know.
I guarantee you we will agree on that.
Oh man, well we're after this week, man. We just got 3 more weeks left of the regular season, and then it's playoff time.
I
It's
know
almost here.
I know we've talked about it before, but just like that commercial, that's it just becomes a cold night in Buffalo. It's becoming true.
Yeah, there's a new one out I like now where it's like they're all talking about the holiday season. They said, "You think the holiday season goes by fast?" I'm like, "Football season goes by fast." They're like, "Cause one night you're just sitting there watching football," and he said, "Then it's March and it's got the two guys in a bar hugging each other and everybody's disappeared." And they look at the camera like, yeah, it's getting that way."
So I know we talked about like the World Series and stuff when that time came around a few weeks ago. We haven't talked since this has happened, but what are your thoughts on the Shohei Otani contract?
Oh man, Shohei, 700 million, 10 years. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. The Dodgers, and they're only paying him 2 million for his whole contract. And then when the contract's over, they're going to pay him $680 million. Smart move by the Dodgers ownership right there.
Hmm.
Smart move by Shohei. You know, he's getting endorsement deals like $45 million per year. He doesn't really need that money, but man, that's a sweet deal for him and a sweet deal for the Dodgers management. Hey, you know, we'll agree to this deal with him, and we're like 10 years later, maybe we'll sell the team, and somebody else can be on the hook for it. You know,
Yeah, I thought the contract was really interesting. I think they're paying out the 680, like from like 2034 to 2043. I think it was so over that span, that 680 will be paid out, kind of like the Bobby Bonilla contract.
yeah,
But it's interesting to put out that amount of money for someone that you don't know if he's going to be pitching again. He's gone through injuries. They've already announced he's not pitching next season, so he'll be primarily DH. And there's a report today that he'll be open to playing some outfield, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they're gonna save him only for DH and try to have him pitch when his arm gets better.
yeah. That like if you're paying 700 million, you would hope that you're getting a pitcher and a hitter, but they've already announced he's not going to pitch. They announced that before he even signed with anybody that he wasn't going to be pitching next year.
Yep.
But for that amount of money, you would hope that hopefully eventually down the line he's going to do both for us. Because if not, that's a lot of money to pay one guy, and he's great and all, but 700 million is a whole lot of money for
That
one
also
guy.
that makes me wonder if like that's why Otani came up with a hey, pay me 2 million a year, defer the rest, because he knows that my pitching time's probably limited right now.
Yeah, but yeah, it's and the Dodgers have been buying up more players as well. They got Glasnow from the Rays, and so they're not done buying. It's like,
It
man, somebody's got to pay for this somewhere.
and it definitely would not surprise me if they're the ones that end up signing that Yamamoto from Japan and just giving him a 5 or 6 year deal.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And they're definitely trying to buy them a World Series, and that's what it's all about: winning a World Series, right?
Yeah, if this team doesn't win like 3 or 4 within the next 10 years, that Otani contract may be looked at as like the biggest bust in baseball history.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Bobby Bonilla deal that ends, I believe, in 2035, and Otani's deal would begin in 2034. So it's like he's passing off the, hey, it's going to be Shohei Otani Day for the next 10 years, like it was Bobby Bonilla Day for the last 30 years.
Yep.
Oh, man. But yeah, it's, we'll see how it works out for the Dodgers. I kind of hope they fall on their face with it. That's me personally.
Oh, I do too. And being a Pirates fan, I know what it's like to like have a team that doesn't shell out money. So to see a 10-year, $700 million contract, I hope it absolutely fails. And I hope that they win 0 World Series rings over the next 10 years.
Absolutely, and you're a Pirates fan. I'm a Reds fan, so I know how the team does not like to spend money at all. Occasionally, they'll bring in a free agent, like, "Hey, we got this guy in." And like, who?
Uh, it's it's like the Pirates the other day. They signed a first baseman Rowdy Tellez to a 1 year, like $3.2 million deal or whatever. And it's like, ooh, Rowdy Tellez, a whopping 213, whatever he hit last year. Like, oh, gee, thanks, guys.
That was like the Reds last year. Like, hey, we just signed Will Myers. I'm like, oh, okay,
Like, ooh, yay, let's party.
that's what we got in free agency. Cool.
What these other teams get? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, nice. And we're stuck with this one. Oh yeah, that's gonna work out good. But yeah, we'll see how the Dodgers do in that. Like you said, I think we're both rooting for them to fall on their face and be out all that money. But good for Shohei. I mean, really good for him to get that money.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, uh, 3 more weeks of the regular season. I'll see you next week, and we'll get to talk a little Bengals Steelers when we record next time.
Alrighty, sounds good. I will talk to you later.
All right, we'll see you.
Yay!